Good morning, everyone. Shyamanakombu Chambers, Duminda, committee members, and all members. I think I'm happy to come back here. It's quite a familiar place, even my earlier role, I have been coming even as a director. So I can remember coming and discussing all the economic kind of overall macro issues here. And also, I also would like to appreciate and recognize the role played by the chamber like yours, uh, basically uh, in providing independent analysis in terms of their own economic kind of issues and raise concerns and as well as outlook. And also, the role I think important role this kind of chambers representing the private sector should play independently to educate the private sector as well as the public on and also issue warnings if there are different ways that authorities are going to move the economy in different directions. I think one thing I want to uh, uh, make a remark on. I can remember before 2022 April, I can remember chambers, all lot of industries and chambers were issuing warnings against the direction that at that time administration was going. And I can remember recently one of the parliamentary committees, there was an allegation. I was also involved in kind of a conspiracy or kind of a thing that led to so-called bankruptcy of the country, with the chamber signing all the petitions saying that this is a warning that government should be changing their course, but it was not heard. But I'm glad that at that time even chambers issued right warnings, although those were not heard. But I think that's important independent positions taken by the chambers. And also even now I can see they are supporting right policies and moving in the right directions and having these good awareness programs of the, as Dumind already mentioned, the difficulty in some of the reforms, but need to be patient and take it through the process until we see the light at the end, and we see the light at the tunnel, but until we realize the actual benefits and the benefits to the public and including insurance country after the crisis. So with that, let me just touch on a few areas. I think already I have no major kind of issues with the outlook. I think obviously when you look at the outlooks, it all depends on, as already mentioned, World Bank has a different projection, IMF has a different projection, we have a different projection. Based on assumptions, one can predict or project what could happen in the future. So that's natural, and also one when you see real picture, so then we can revise our projections. And important one is that who had the most accurate projection based on the back testing, and that is where I think when it comes to inflation, we have always been saying we were going to achieve single digit inflation by end of 2022, and we were able, a lot of people did not have that projections, and we were able to achieve that. This in the past, even growth projections, we were central bank, because it's natural, we have a lot more information than anyone has, both insight and also more kind of intelligence and ability to read the economic trends and understand the policies. And on that basis, even better than IMF World Bank, and we have a lot more information. That is on that basis we are making out. We don't say those always can be pretty accurate. These predictions are always subject to certain assumptions. If assumptions are realized, obviously we're going to see actual outcomes as actual reality. So with that, I think growth, I'm quite sure this I agree with. There's a clear signs of moving into a positive territory on a steady, slow and steady basis. And I'm sure next year, what we think we will, in our expectation, we will close to 3% growth. This is important and also necessary, as Duminda mentioned, with all the difficult reforms that has uh, been implemented so far by both the government and the central bank. Those are very painful reforms. So still, uh, the full transmission of benefits of those reforms is yet to come. For that to realize, we need growth. That is where that will flow through the people in this country, flow through the industries or the sectors, so they can recover and do businesses as usual. So there's unfortunately there's a transition lag where painful reforms will have to be implemented without delay, but the outcomes and results will come with a timeline. So this is a challenging time period, this transmission, especially when elections are coming now. The question is that I can tell you the so far what we have been doing is in the right direction. One can argue this could have done faster than what we had done, or even slower to reduce the pain. I think, in my view, earlier the better, the painful reforms. So the benefits also will be sooner than later if we can wait for that period. This is the thing. That's why I think when you look at monetary policy, if you look at the inflation, the very sharp kind of a tight monetary policy regime we conducted for a shorter period resulted in a sharpest disinflation process this country or a lot of countries ever had. Within 12 months, bringing down 70%, 0%. That's a result of the fast and expedition of reforms or policies implemented, then we see the results of stable inflation and stable exchange rate. Those are the, so we have already seen the benefit of that already. But unfortunately, fiscal reforms, it will take some time to get the benefits because still government was in the path of tightening fiscal policy. Taxation obviously is difficult thing. That will have impact on people's take-home salaries, their disposable incomes, and this will have impact on the, as already shown, consumption, people ability to consume, and they are then obviously will have impact on the businesses demand for goods and services they produce, and also with the adjustment in petroleum and oil energy prices cost reflective and high taxes have impact on the cost of production. So for you to recover, for businesses to recover and compete in a rising cost of production, people should be able to buy goods and services at higher prices with the ability to consume more, which will come only after economy starting to recover. That is important one. That's why it's next phase of the reform. We should be focusing on how to pump up and how to get the growth going so that first people will be able to consume and invest more, and as a result they will be able to production of goods and services would be able to recover or get the right prices compared to cost of production, and also going forward the bringing down cost of production medium term in terms of energy, cost of energy, all these things are also important medium to long term reform. That is electricity, energy sector reforms, state-owned enterprise reforms will also play a role, but those benefits will come in a with the transition. So the question is that the challenge is that when you don't see the cost of production is not coming down, and people don't see that disposable incomes are not rising immediately in comparison to increasing cost of production or increasing prices, then there is a tendency and pressure to turn, criticize all these things and turn around the policy. That is the biggest danger as far as I can see. That is where it's important people like chambers like yours and all the stakeholders need to educate the people of this country that if we deviate from this path, there's no other path. I always say, with time or without time, we have to do all these things by ourselves, and we have to take this path through. There's no shortcuts. It will take several years to come back to normal situation, so that we have to understand clearly. And with that, uh, anyone trying to, who have different kind of path, I think I'm happy to hear what is that alternative path, and we can have a discussion. I'm happy to listen. What is that alternative path? Without that discussion, I think moving away from the the very difficult, painful reforms they already implemented, any reversal would be disaster. Would be a disaster. That's the important message I want to make. And let me on turn into specific things, especially from the monetary policy area from the central bank. And as mentioned, I think I want to comment on the question, I think Sanjay, the CBDC, I think this is misreporting. I don't think we will introduce central bank digital currency by end of this year. That's way out. So I don't think if you look at the countries, those who have been trying to introduce central bank digital currency, it's only India at the wholesale level and at the retail level pilot project. There's some success, as mainly because of India has been very successful with digital payment infrastructure. As a first prerequisite is to popularize and make digital payments much more popular. That is first necessity for the country to have CBDC. Otherwise, it's not going to work anyway. That's a two different purposes. Central bank digital currency would serve the purpose of reducing currency in circulation, but that would not serve the purpose of promoting technology and digital transaction, digital payment and settlement, unless we have a low-cost digital kind of a platforms working better and more popularized. And everywhere, if you go somewhere and your businesses can use digital payments, that's a different kind of. This is what we are right now promoting. CBDC, we are doing some work, watching what other countries are doing, and do our research. But I don't think that's some misinterpretation of the statement made by our officers at the parliament. That's not going to happen. So, second one on the monetary policy, let me comment on that. Obviously, as you mentioned, the inflation, even with the recent VAT effect, but we thought, as I mentioned in the media conference, we were projecting 6.7% for January, but it was a bit surprise for us, realized 6.4%, much better than what we expected. With that, we are much more confident now that pretty soon, second round impact of the VAT increase will also be felt next month. But with our multiple stars, we will be able to maintain 5% inflation on a medium to long term basis. That is a mandate that we are giving. This is why it's important is having stable and low inflation. It's important, especially for you to negotiate your wage contracts and also to make decisions on your margins in the long-term basis, and also stability of the currency. Low inflation is also the important part that we will be able to maintain a relatively stable currency that we have seen. We have been able to maintain that also. So on the monetary policy implementation, we are going to fine-tune the implementation strategy under the flexible inflation targeting regime. We have already a very robust monetary policy implementation framework. But there are certain distortions to address certain liquidity issues. Next step is to remove our regulation on the limits on standard deposit facilities for the interbank market. Once we remove that, relax that gradually. Next step is to fine tune the much more focus, because is to have a single interest, single policy rate instead of what we have this the policy rate corridor, which will have much more focus on towards implementation, because key instrument in towards implementation is our ability to target short-term interest rates and maintain short-term cold money rate, where we think appropriate given the monetary stance. Right now, it's between 9 to 10%. We are trying to maintain the relaxed path of close just above 9%. But once we have a single policy rate, we should be able to maintain short-term rates in a much more stable manner. That will facilitate, first remove the distortion, then go to a single policy rate, so that transmission of policy rates into market rates to be much more efficient. That is one of the weaknesses in the transition. What we see now is that our policy rate, but still market rates are still well above. Its transmission has a delay. That's why we have been speaking to banks, and also some administrative measures that will be brought down. And also, I'm happy to say from the government side, the government yield rates, a lot of uncertainty that we had earlier, now being gradually removed. And as a result, and also government side also, we must appreciate what we recommended, the without monetary financing to manage government interest rates, they have, accept our recommendation to create a buffer, which has effectively, very effective in managing interest rates. And you can see recently now, government yield curve nicely adjusting, not only kind of upward yielding yield curve, and also shifting downwards in line with our multiple expectations. So that will certainly help the banks also to bring down the market risk for all of you, the private sector. And that's why we think. And in addition, there's another new measure, because we see in difficult times, the SMEs and others are finding difficult to service their debt obligation. It's gradually easing with interest rates coming down, so that restructuring, people who can restructure their business, viable businesses, we are going to issue another kind of guideline instructions to the banks to strengthen business recovery units, that we have already had issued a one due to COVID. We are going to issue one with more kind of guidelines, and we have consultation with banks. So that is to help SMEs and even corporates how to restructure if that is viable. But not viable, obviously they should be able to recover uh, the dues to the banks. But those who have been able to viable with economy recovering and also interest rates coming down. So I think there are a lot of businesses who should be able to, as I said earlier, economy is recovering, then there's a way forward, positive way forward. So we are asking banks to establish and strengthen this business recovery units that will help the SMEs and even corporates to leverage and bring down their burden, and stabilize and smoothen the debt service obligation. That's on the private sector side. And also let me share one something on the government debt circuit is one important part. We have already completed domestic debt as some time ago last year. That has been very successful. And then the bilateral official creditors have already signed, and it's about to sign MOUs to start repaying our obligations on a restructured basis. Next one is commercial uh, uh, creditors agreement. We have been working very closely with them. As I said, already there's a lot of speculation in the market. I don't think, as a person, it's not appropriate for me to make any comments on those speculation. But all I can say, we are working very transparent, open, and also have already announced. But we would like the relief we want from the commercial creditors is very open, transparent, and also it has to be consistent with the debt sustainability targets set out by the IMF, because whole idea is to restore the sustainability. Any solution that will not restore the sustainability, I don't think we are going to agree. Any solution that's going to restore the sustainability based on macro framework of the IMF, that they have their projections, then we are willing to agree any time. So I don't want to commit anything more than that. It's a process of negotiation, up to the both sides to understand our open, transparent process and come to an agreement. I think I am very positive that we should be able to come to agreement in principle very soon, so that part, once that is sorted out, I think that the government will have a huge relief in terms of both domestic investors, and already we are seeing market uh, responding and positively responding to domestic debt obligations after restructuring. After external debt service obligation, after fully restructuring, I think government will see all sovereign debt, extended debt obligation will be much more easy and manageable. And as a result, you can see we also from our side, central bank is building our resource, and while maintaining a stable kind of a flexible exchange rate regime that we had to implement under the monetary policy regime. That's working extremely well. I think you can see these days no issues in political liquidity. We have been building up our reserves more than what anyone expected. When earlier I thought it was 4.4 billion proceeds, but they later revised to 3.6 or something. But we achieved 4.4 billion. And I'm happy to say all the key macro targets, not only from central bank inflation, reserve targets, and also from government side revenue and primary surpluses have been now over for four. That's where I think one important transition or macro sense what I can see after several decades. 2023 was a year that both uh, fiscal primary account recorded surplus, at the same time external current account also recorded surplus. That what they call historically twin deficit legacy is now turned around to twin surplus first year, I think first time, and I would expect even 2024 similar kind of outcome, which is a proven result of if fiscal consolidation and fiscal surpluses are managed, where deficits are managed properly, we are going to see spillover effects of positive outcomes on the external accounts and also outcome of exchange rate stability and interest rate stability. That's an important outcome. This is why I think that we need to understand. A lot of people argue why don't we control inflation and interest rates. I think inflation and interest rate is an instrument for monetary policy. Exchange rate is an outcome of other overall macro policies. If we have right fiscal policy, if we have right monetary policy, we are going to see a stable currency and much more predictable and also big down results. If you are going to get wrong in those imbalances, then that should reflect in action rate. That's where I think some of the misperception in the past, even from the central bank, some of the administrators had this thinking that exchange rate can be fixed and then everything else could be automatically fixed. So that's not going to happen. That's why we ended up in crisis. As a better understanding of this overall macro linkages is important for the economic management. I think we have a good understanding now. The central bank, other point I want to make is with independent central bank. So we are confident that we can implement monetary policy independently, irrespective of who is running the central banks in terms of governor or members of the boards. There's a sufficient and enough independence given to the central bank, and also a robust monetary policy framework is enacted into the law. So there's a predictability in monetary policy going forward, predictability and also sustainability in the right direction. This is what we expect from fiscal policy also. That is where I think from government side, Public Financial Management Act, which will be enacted soon. That's one of the key reforms, which will ensure the fiscal policy also have a much more predictability going forward, irrespective of the administration. That's was other very important reform. That, as you know, some of the fiscal rules that we can see, for example, European Union, collective fiscal treaty tells you have to maintain 3% deficit. All the member countries. That's a much broader, wide group. Likewise, there are a lot of other countries that have these strong fiscal rules that will ensure fiscal policy also moved in the right direction, respective administration. I think once we have that an institutional framework and strengthen this thing, all these frameworks, I think we can confident. You also can be confident, and investor can be confident, irrespective of the different regimes coming in. Country will be moving in the same direction. Other third important pillar of the same risk targeting is a governance and corruption vulnerabilities. That I'm happy that government has agreed to publish all the weaknesses identified in the governance diagnostic reform. It's one of the popular themes in these days. We can see governance and corruption. There's a clear identification of what are the gaps in all the areas. That there's a commitment by the government to announce how to address all the issues going forward. I think that's the next important step for investors and for you, private sector, to do business in confidently, more competitive, and without and addressing all the corruption and governance. And you all know how difficult to do business in this country with all these issues. That is the next important medium long term measure. I'm hopeful whoever comes in, this is a popular theme, and that agenda will continue. I think that's already there's a key important ones to identify issues, and there are these issues. Next one is to how to address all these issues so that going forward there will be a better place to do business. Thank you.